So far, we studied about the force acting on the charged particle when it moves in a magnetic field and also when it moves in a combined field like magnetic and electric. And one force is Lorentz magnetic force and another force is Lorentz force. What happens if a current carrying conductor is kept in an external magnetic field? External magnetic field means additional field, outside field. Say for example, if I consider one uniform magnetic field B, in this uniform magnetic field, if I keep one conductor, means a wire, this is the conductor, okay. Now, if I pass the current through this conductor, then here what happen means, there will be interaction between the two fields. Which are those two fields? This is an external field, means additional field or outside field. How it is produced? It can be produced by making use of bar magnet. So, north pole, south pole, okay. So, by using a bar magnet or powerful electromagnet, we can produce the magnetic field. In this field, I am keeping one metallic conductor, say for example copper wire, aluminum wire, alloy wire, whatever may be the nature of the material. On passing the current, one more field is set up around this. Due to the current, the field that is set up all around this conductor, let us consider that as BI, field due to the current. This is external field because of this magnet. Now there will be interaction between this field and this field. As a result of interaction between these two fields, a mechanical force will act on the conductor. Definitely a force will act on the conductor. As a result of this, if the conductor is free, if it is kept free in the magnetic field without fixing it, then certainly the conductor moves in one of the direction depending upon the direction of current. So that means, if this is the magnetic field, if you imagine this as the conductor, pass the current either upwards or downwards. Then all around this conductor one magnetic field is produced, and this is nothing but magnetic effect. Production of magnetic field around a conductor because of current is known as magnetic effect of current, which is one of the effect of current also. Whereas interaction between the two fields will result in the force acting on the conductor. As a result of this, the conductor has to move either like this or like this, either forward or backward, which can be determined by making use of a rule known as Fleming's left hand rule. Because we come across two rules with respect to Fleming, Fleming's left hand rule and Fleming's right hand rule. Okay, using Fleming's left hand rule, we can find the direction of the force acting on the conductor, and this effect of current is known as mechanical effect of current. Remember the difference between the magnetic effect and mechanical effect. Only magnetic field produced because of current is known as magnetic effect. When current carrying conductor kept in an external field, it experiences force, and that is nothing but mechanical effect of current. If that's the case, then what is the amount of the force that act on the conductor? That amount of the force can be determined by means of an equation. Let us derive that equation. That means force acting on a current carrying conductor when kept in a magnetic field. Before deriving the equation regarding the force acting on the conductor, let us now explain what is meant by Fleming's left hand rule. So first of all, we write about mechanical effect. Whenever a current carrying conductor is placed in an external magnetic field, then it experiences mechanical force, which is known as mechanical effect. Okay, this is known as mechanical effect of current. Now, how to find the direction of the force? By making use of Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's left hand rule, FLHR. It is also known as motor rule. Electric motor. All electric motor working principle is based on the mechanical effect of current, and the direction of force in that case can be determined by making use of Fleming's left hand rule. So, working of almost all electric motors, right from small size to very big size of industrial motors, their working principle involves this Fleming's left hand rule also. What is the statement now? Hold the first three fingers of the left hand. If I hold the first three fingers of my left hand mutually perpendicular to each other, either like this or like this, this is the direction of magnetic field. In this, I am going to keep one conductor. I represent the conductor by means of straight line. Let I be the current flowing through the conductor. Now I have to determine the force, because this current will produce one magnetic field around it, and the field produced due to the current and external field, there will be interaction between these two and force act on it. According to the Fleming's left hand rule, if the forefinger represents, if you hold like this, this is nothing but forefinger, okay? If forefinger represents the direction of magnetic field, okay? Then, if middle finger represents the direction of current flowing through the conductor. So, if I apply this to this figure, look here, forefinger is the direction of magnetic field, middle finger represents the direction of current. Then, what about the stretched thumb finger? All the three fingers should be stretched out, mutually perpendicular to each other. It should not be in a contracted position. It should be clearly stretched out like this to apply this rule. So, now the forefinger, which is stretched out in the backward direction, gives the direction of force acting on the conductor. So, this is the direction of force. So, and this is given by thumb finger. Okay, look here. If you imagine this as a conductor and this is the magnetic field, in the magnetic field I have kept the conductor and I am passing the current in which direction? Upward direction. Then, now there will be interaction between the magnetic field due to the current flowing through the conductor and the external field. As a result of this, now the conductor moves in which direction? All along thumb finger direction. That means this conductor has to move back like this along thumb finger direction. So, this is how the direction of force acting on a current carrying conductor can be determined when kept in a magnetic field. Suppose if I reverse the direction of current. Once again, this is magnetic field forefinger, and direction of current represents the middle finger. But this is the conductor, this is the magnetic field. Now I hold the conductor like this. Now the current is flowing in which direction? Downward direction. Stretch the middle finger represents the direction of current, this represents the direction of magnetic field. Now stretch the thumb finger. Now the thumb finger is stretched in this direction. As a result of this, now this conductor moves all along the direction of thumb finger. That means it moves in the forward direction, whereas in this case it moved in the backward direction. Here it moved in the backward direction, whereas here it moves in the forward direction. So I represent this is the direction of force which is given by thumb finger. So forefinger represents the direction of magnetic field, middle finger represents the direction of current, electric current, then the thumb finger stretched out gives the direction of force, means mechanical force acting on the conductor. So this is how we apply Fleming's left hand rule, also known as motor rule. Now let us derive the expression for the magnitude of the force acting on a current carrying conductor when kept in an uniform magnetic field. So here, according to this figure, I have kept one conductor inclined to the magnetic field by an angle theta. Let A be the area of cross section of the conductor and let L be the length of the conductor, and if I pass the current through the conductor, I can pass the current either upwards or downwards. Then I have written everything. L length of the conductor, area of cross section of the conductor, B is the uniform magnetic field, I is the current flowing through the conductor, theta is the angle made by the conductor with the magnetic field. What about Vd? Vd is the drift velocity of the electron. Here the minus sign inside the circle which I have written to represent that as an electron, or else I can also write this like this, E minus. So this is nothing but electron. You know that electron always moves with an uniform velocity known as drift velocity opposite to the current direction. If current flows like this, electron moves in the opposite direction, because when we pass the current inside the conductor, electric field is set up. As a result of that electric field, the free electrons of the conductor starts moving opposite to the current, because the direction of electric field will be like this. So this will be the direction of electric field. Electric field direction and current are one and the same, but drift velocity of free electron will be always opposite to these two. And I also consider N as the number density of electron or number of electrons per unit volume of the conductor. Unit volume of the conductor. So what does it mean? It means that inside the conductor, if I consider unit volume space, so I consider a cube of volume 1 meter cube, then within this 1 meter cube volume, how many electrons are present? That is nothing but number density of free electrons. Now let us consider the force acting on the electron. First we calculate the force acting on one single electron, then we extend that to the entire electrons of the conductor, and that gives the total force acting on the conductor. Lorentz force, Lorentz magnetic force acting on an electron means single electron. I represent that by F, small f, or Fl I can also write, or else I can write this as Fb, because force due to magnetic field. This is the external field. It is given by Q into V cross B. This is Lorentz magnetic force, not Lorentz force. Lorentz force arises because of the combined field, means due to both electric and magnetic. But here we are making use of only the magnetic field, therefore I consider Lorentz magnetic force. Now what is the total electrons present in the entire conductor? See, for 1 unit volume, N is the number of electrons, total number of electrons in 1 unit volume. Like this, there may be too many volumes in this entire length of the conductor. Therefore, first let us find out the volume of the conductor, total volume of the conductor, and if I multiply the total volume of the conductor by means of number of electrons per unit volume, that gives the total electrons contained in the conductor. Now I can also write this like this, Q equal to minus E, because Q is the charge of the electron. Charge of the electron is negative, but each electron is moving with a velocity known as drift velocity Vd. So I can replace V by Vd and Q by minus E. So then what do I get now? I get the equation like this, Fb. I write this in vector form. Remember, here on right hand side it is in vector form, therefore on left hand side also there should be a vector. this is equal to, for Q I write minus E into V means VD cross B. Okay. Total volume of the conductor is given by V. I use a different V because already we have made use of V to represent drift velocity. V equal to area of cross section into length of the conductor. So if you multiply this area of cross section by the entire length of the conductor, that gives the total volume of the whole conductor. So then what will be the total charge or total number of total electrons present in this entire conductor? So total electrons or charge contained in the conductor, it is given by N equal to number of electrons per unit volume multiplied by total volume. That means N into A into L. This is the total number of electrons. Okay. Now we shall consider total force acting on the entire electrons of the conductor. What is the total number of electrons? N. But what is the force on each electron? Fb. Total force acting on the entire electrons or the entire conductor, it is given by F, which is equal to force acting on each electron, that is Lorentz magnetic force multiplied by total number of electron. Force on one electron multiplied by total number of all electrons, entire electrons. Substitute for this, what is Fb? Minus E into Vd cross B. Okay. Then what is N? For N I can substitute NaL. So let us rewrite this. Minus NaL minus NaLe into Vd cross B. So this is the total force. Next what I do means, I consider now the expression for the current. What is the expression for the current? We already derived this equation, I equal to NaE into Vd. So we know about this equation. Let us write this. We know that I equal to NaE Vd. I multiply both sides by L, length of the conductor, NaLe into Vd. So multiply this side also by L and also this side by L. If I consider now the length of the conductor as a vector quantity, then how can I represent this? I into L. Okay. So I consider this L as a vector quantity, though length is a scalar. For the calculation purpose, I consider the scalar quantity length as a vector. Then this side I can write like this, NaLe Vd. I represent Vd as a vector quantity. Look here, on left hand side there is one vector quantity. Similarly on right hand side also there is a vector quantity. Instead of writing arrow at the top of L, I put arrow at the top of Vd to convert this or to show this as a vector. Along with this I also write minus sign. Why minus sign? If length is considered as a vector quantity, then what about Vd? and as well as the direction of the length. Since it is a vector, the direction of L will be along the direction of current. Remember, if L is a vector quantity, then the direction of the cell will be along the direction of current, whereas drift velocity is opposite to the current. It means that drift velocity and the vector L are opposite to each other. That is why I put minus sign. L and VD are opposite to each other. I put minus sign. Then what happens to this equation now? Minus is there. NALE into VD can be taken as equal to now I into vector L. So I into vector L cross B. So I have done nothing except for this entire thing, including minus sign. What I have substituted? Minus NALE into VD for that. For this entire thing, I have substituted I into L, vector L. Cross remains as it is B. So this can be written as I into L cross B. Okay. This is the expression for the force acting on a current carrying conductor when kept in an uniform magnetic field. Now it is already in the vector form. If you want to write this in the magnitude, that means if I want to write the magnitude of the force, look here, it can be written as F equal to I into L into B into sin theta. So this is nothing but vector, and this gives magnitude of the force. Now the direction of the force acting on the conductor can be determined by making use of Fleming's left hand rule. Now when will be the force acting on this conductor maximum and minimum? That can be determined easily by substituting for theta. If theta is equal to look here, if theta is equal to 0 degree, what does it mean? To the magnetic field, if the conductor is kept parallel, this is the direction of current. Okay. So then if the conductor is kept parallel, then theta is equal to 0 degree. What is theta? Angle between the conductor and the magnetic field. Conductor itself is parallel. In such a case, what happens to the force now? Now force becomes F equal to I L B sin 0, means 0. No force act on a current carrying conductor if it is kept parallel to the magnetic field. Even by passing the current through the conductor, no force act if it is kept all along the field direction. Remember this. Suppose if theta is equal to 90 degree, that means in this case I keep the conductor perpendicular to the magnetic field. So this is the direction of current. Okay. So here theta becomes equal to 90 degree. In such a case, what happens to this equation? Force acting on the conductor. F becomes equal to B into I into L into sin 90 degree. That means F equal to B into I into L. So the force becomes maximum when conductor is kept perpendicular to the magnetic field, whereas the force becomes 0, that means minimum when the conductor is kept parallel to the magnetic field. So remember the vector form and also scalar form, and when the force acting on the conductor will be maximum and minimum. Suppose if the conductor is kept at an angle other than 0 degree or 90 degree, then force acting on the conductor can be determined by making use of this equation. Only if you substitute theta equal to 0, then it becomes F becomes 0. Or else if you substitute theta is equal to 90 degree, then F becomes maximum. Suppose if I consider a beam of charged particles moving with different velocities, that means there is a beam consisting of different charged particles like this. So this charged particle may be moving with velocity v, this may be moving with velocity v1, this with velocity v2, v3, again v, v2 and so on. Now if I want to separate the charged particle of one particular velocity from this beam, that means I want to filter out the charged particle of only one particular velocity from this beam, then we use a condition known as velocity selector or velocity selector condition. Say for example, now I want to separate out the particle moving with the velocity v. Again, this particle also got velocity v. From this beam, I want to filter out these particles which are having identical velocities. Then for that we use a condition known as velocity selector. So condition used to separate out the charged particles of particular velocity out of a beam consisting of charged particles moving with different velocities. Okay, so this is nothing but velocity selector. So separate out only the charged particles of velocity v, or else even I can choose charged particle of velocity v1, v2, v3, but only particle of one particular velocity, that should be completely filtered out. For that we use this condition. Now let us obtain that mathematical condition. In order to obtain that mathematical condition, what I do means I consider the combined fields, means electric field and as well as magnetic field. X axis, y axis, z axis. Along x axis I consider electric field, along z axis I consider magnetic field. So if you consider three-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system, along y axis electric field is taken all along this axis, velocity is taken, along z axis magnetic field is taken. Now I consider one charged particle entering into this combined field. These two combined fields are mutually perpendicular to each other. So electric field and magnetic field, if they are mutually perpendicular to each other, then we call that fields as crossed field. Crossed field means electric and magnetic field at right angles to each other. So if a charged particle enters into this crossed field, this one and this one, all along x axis with some velocity v, then we shall write about it v. Q is the charged particle. Then we make use of Lorentz force equation because we are using both electric field and magnetic field. Let us write that Lorentz force. Now Lorentz force is given by F equal to force due to magnetic field plus force due to electric field. What is force due to magnetic field? It is nothing but Q into V cross B. Force due to electric field is nothing but Q into E cross. Let us rewrite this. F equal to, now Q, I remove Q outside, into E plus V cross B. Okay. Now here all these are vector quantities. We can represent these vector quantities in the form of unit vector. A unit vector is a vector whose magnitude is equal to 1. What is the significance of unit vector? Means it is always used to represent the direction of a vector. Since its magnitude is equal to 1, the purpose of using unit vector is to give the direction or to represent the direction for a given vector quantity. So what I do means I write like this now. Along x-axis, I make use of unit vector. Which is the unit vector to be used along x-axis? Means it is I cap only. No other unit vector should be used. All small letters. Along y-axis, what is the unit vector to be used? Means it is nothing but j cap. Along z-axis, what is the unit vector that should be used? Means it is nothing but k cap. Now, what is the direction? Direction of the force acting on the charged particle due to electric field? The direction of the force acting on the charged particle due to electric field will be along y-axis. I call this as Fe is the force acting on the charged particle due to electric field. That is what we have taken here. And on the same charged particle due to magnetic field, what is the direction of the force? Means the direction of the force now, it is given by, look here. So this is the direction of the force due to magnetic field. Electric field force, magnetic field force, both are opposite to each other. Okay. So k cap is the unit vector along z axis. Since these two forces are opposite to each other, now we have used combined field. That is why I consider Lorentz force, not Lorentz magnetic force. Lorentz magnetic force equation is considered only if we use magnetic field, but we are using both the fields. Let us represent now each of these vector quantities in the form of unit vectors. How? Along x-axis, what is there? Velocity is there. So I write velocity like this: v equal to v into I cap. Magnitude, direction. Without arrow, it gives magnitude. Magnitude and direction, it is a vector. Similarly, for E into j cap. Magnitude and direction, it is a vector. Similarly, magnetic field B into k cap. I cap, j cap, k cap are the unit vectors used along x, y and z axis respectively. If I substitute all this in this equation, now what happens to this equation now? This equation becomes now F equal to Q into, for E I can write E into j cap. Okay, then plus I write as it is. For V I write V into I cap, cross. For B I write B into j cap. Now V and B are only the magnitudes, they are scalars. Therefore, I remove V and B outside the bracket. Q into E into j cap plus V into B into I cap cross j cap. Okay. Here at this stage, we make use of one formula according to the vector rules. According to the vector concept, it is found that I cap cross j cap, we know that I cap cross j cap is equal to, okay, so it is k cap, one correction, I cross cap k cap is nothing but equal to minus j cap. So this we have already studied in first PUC. If you go through the textbook of first PUC, you come across all this. Cross product of two unit vectors is equal to the third unit vector. So if two unit vectors are there, the missing unit vector can be written along with negative sign. So what happens to this equation now? Finally, let us call this as equation 1. Equation 1 becomes now, equation 1 becomes F equal to Q into E into j cap, E into j cap plus VB, then what is I cap cross k cap? I cap cross k cap is minus j cap. Okay, so this is equal to Q into E into j cap plus into minus, it is minus VB into j cap. Now j cap is common, let us remove that outside. F equal to Q into j cap into E minus V into B. Okay. So let us call this as equation 2. Now what we do means, in order to filter out the charge particle of particular velocity, now let us consider this is the beam of charge particle moving along x-axis. So these are all the particles of different velocity. So this particle is moving with a velocity v, and this may be moving with a velocity v1, this with v2, and this once again with v3 and so on. Now I have to filter out or separate out the charge particle q. So what is the charge of this particle? The charge of this particle is q, and also what is the charge of this particle? Q. So I want to separate only these particles which are moving with identical velocity v and v, whereas all other particles should be separated out. Only these particles should be retained in the beam. Then for that what we have to do is adjust electric and magnetic fields. So adjust electric and magnetic field in such a way that the net force acting on the charge particle q becomes 0. So net force acting on this charge particle and also on this charge particle having identical velocity should become equal to 0. In such a way, adjust the electric and magnetic fields. Electric field and magnetic field. Such that net force F becomes equal to 0. If that is the case, then what happens to equation 2 now? Therefore, equation 2 becomes F equal to 0, F becomes equal to 0 equal to Q into J cap E minus V into B. Now cross multiply this, 0 divided by Q into J cap equal to E minus VB. That means this entire thing 0 divided by anything is 0 equal to E minus VB. Now shift this to this side so that negative will become plus VB equal to E. Then what is V? V equal to E by B. So this is the mathematical condition of velocity selector. That means adjust the magnitude of electric field and magnetic field such that net force becomes equal to 0, so that we can filter out the charge particle of one particular velocity. So for example, the velocity of this particle is about, let us say, 5 meter per second. Let us assume like that. Even this velocity, which is identical, 5 meter per second. I want to retain this particle. Then what happens to other particles when the net force becomes equal to 0? When the net force becomes equal to 0, all the other particle gets deflected sideways. That means this particle may get deflected like this will get deflected like this will get deflected like this, except the charge particles of particular velocity in which we have selected only will move straight undeflected. They do not deflect in any direction. They continue to travel along x-axis, along straight line path, whereas all other particle gets deflected. This is how we can filter out the charge particle of particular velocity. Suppose if I assume the velocity of the charge particle that is separated out is about 5 meter per second. Look here, according to this equation now, if the magnitude of electric field is about, let us say, 25 units, then the magnitude of magnetic field should be equal to 5 units, because 25 by 5 is nothing but equal to 5 meter per second. So this is how electric field, magnetic field should be adjusted. See, E should not be equal to B. If E becomes equal to B, then V becomes equal to 1. E and B are always different. What should be equal to each other? Force due to electric field, force due to magnetic field, which are in the opposite direction, should be equal to each other. For that you adjust E and B. E and B will be always of different magnitudes. So we select the velocity, particular velocity particle by adjusting E and B values. So this is nothing but the expression or the mathematical condition of velocity selector. Thank you.